Welcome back, everyone. My name's Ryan Mornos, Pickleball Breakdowns, and today we're back with a new series called VOD with Viewers. And today we have a very special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name's Aryan Sharma. I've been playing pickleball for about 8 months. I come from a tennis background. I went to Northwestern University, studied IT there for 4 years, so I'm currently working as a data analyst. I would say some of my strengths in my pickleball game would definitely be my size. So I'm 6'5", so I do have a pretty big reach. I unfortunately don't use it too well, so I'm hoping Ryan can kind of help me with some tips there on how to use my reach a little bit better. I also have a pretty strong serve and drive. It's pretty translatable from tennis. Some of the soft game things are the things I need to work on in terms of just thinking, being more aggressive. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this series.
Yeah, and just give a little highlight or color here. Let's introduce our players. So you're going to be in our green circle, correct?
Yeah, so I'm going to be in the green. I'm currently a 4.8 duper. My partner, Frank, he's a 4.9, and he kind of organizes a lot of tournaments in the Chicagoland area. And then we're playing the number one seed in the tournament on the other side, Will and Joe. They're both 5'2s. They just finished in the finals of the U.S. Open in the 5'0 division. So, yeah, definitely super tough opponents.
Yeah, very high level match. Obviously, your opponent's very, very respectable. And just to give our viewers a little more context to your background and your tennis background, because I think a lot of people have big curiosity there. You mentioned before the call you played with Amar Wazir, who's basically a pro now.
One of my boys, Amar, he's actually he's killing it right now on the APP tour. We played tennis at Barrington High School, which is the high school we both went to for about 4 years. We played doubles together. We played he played one singles sometimes. I would play singles. So I've known him for a while, and then I played in college for a little bit for an injury. But other than that, I've been playing since I was around 10. So definitely a heavy, extensive background in tennis.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very, very prestigious tennis background, and I think this is a good way to this first point. Just again, this entire series before we resume this point is basically to help viewers just understand their game and understand what needs to improve, because a lot of the time in pickleball, the main problem occurs from not just not making balls, but not understanding why we're not making the right shots. So again, this entire video, this entire series is trying to help with that. And it's not just, your shots, it's also your partners and how you react to them. And as you're going to see here, I think in this first point, it's a pretty sweet ATP from your opponent that gets you on a 5-hole. And as we watch it here, let's just notice one of the things I think that your partner could have done better here. So, first of all, I know it's a little bit laggy, but on this shot right here, you're going to see your partner. What was his name again?
Frank.
So, Frank's in your green circle, and he gets a backhand dink. And one of the big inconsistencies I see at the lower level that the top pros don't really do is using their wrist to drive the direction of their shots, which you're going to see here. On this ball, he's going to take this super far wide cross court. But if you notice, it goes too far. And the reason it goes too far is because it's really hard to control the ball when you're snapping your wrist like that. If you notice, we move this a freeze frame forward, look at his paddle position, right? It's almost like he snapped his wrist. That became, too much power. Then you get put in a spot where now your opponent makes you look silly going straight through the legs. So I think the first thing to notice there, not necessarily on your end, but just for everyone at home, especially on your backhand, you don't want to snap your wrist because it leads to a lot of power that's really uncontrollable at times.
For sure, yeah.
But I guess, before we get to this match, it's my first time watching it. Talk me through just your initial reaction as we watch this back. Like, what do you feel like went right? What do you feel like went wrong in this match?
Yeah, so going into the match, we kind of just had the expectations, like, this is the better team. I mean, it is what it is. So we're just going to play kind of loose and free. But, like, quickly, when the match kind of, like, was going, we're like, we can actually beat these guys. So we were right there with them. I'd say, like, once we kind of watch this back, you'll see the amount of just pure errors and unforced errors that both teams made, actually. So it definitely wasn't, I'd say, the best game of pickleball for both teams, but I think those types of games are the best to study because those are more like, floor games and, kind of raising your floor is pretty important, just like when you're not playing your best.
Yep.
So that's why I kind of chose this game to kind of analyze.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think the first thing I'll start off with here is a pro, or, something I really like about your game. This serve is really, really big, and it gives you a lot of free opportunities. And then right off of the serve, what you're able to get is a short return on this third shot. Then your partner, notice this is something all the top pros do, which you do here as well, which is really good. You're going to move up, and then you're going to look at your partner and just feel out how good or bad his drop is. If it's good,
Yeah.
that kind of gives you the green light to go hunt. And hunt, you're able to find a ball here. You're able to find a flick. And although it doesn't, result in a point, it's a really, really good move. So if you're watching this, that is something you should absolutely be doing. If you have a big serve, you should be looking to poach off of your partner's third shot ball because the return is so short.
Yeah.
Other than the second thing I want to point out is something I really like out of your opponents. So if you're going to notice, if we zoom in on them here in the yellow circle, look at both of their paddle faces. They're both holding backhand. And this is really important because you're hitting a flick here. They are on the defense, and the opponent right in front of you in this pink circle. He's able to get on this ball, and one of the reasons he's able to get on this ball is because he doesn't open to his forehand face. He just kind of slides off of the court, and that's something that's really strong and then leads to an error from you. So another really solid positive is to not be confused on whether to open forehand or backhand. Just choose one and stick with it.
Choose one. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So the format here, it's pool play. So is this 1 game to 11?
1 game to 15.
1 game to 15. Okay, got you.
Yeah.
And then talk about maybe, I noticed you and your partner on offense, you guys are switching back between the left and the right with, not the stacking. Was that something that's pre-planned? Did that change throughout the match?
Me personally, I prefer to either just play straight up or stack one person for the entire game. But my partner Frank, he doesn't like being stuck on one side the entire game. So we kind of just felt it out point by point, kind of saw who was more hot, which I don't know if necessarily was the best approach.
Yep.
But we kind of switched all over the place. We were half stacking on defense, we were stacking on offense. Sometimes him on the left, sometimes me on the left. But I wanted to kind of go into this tournament playing full time on the left, just because I think the bigger player should play on the left, who has bigger serve, bigger strokes.
Yep.
But he's definitely a great left side player too. So I kind of just went with it.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I think as we back this up, obviously, you mentioned one of your strengths being your forehand. Absolutely,
Yeah.
This forehand drive is elite, not only for a tennis player, as we'll kind of see in this next point. I think here, then we'll rewind another point because I think while you have the amazing forehand, I want to point out your backhand specifically, and just look at one thing I think you can improve upon. So obviously that forehand is really, really nice, but in the prior. This cross-court to cross-court backhand battle, you end up winning it with a speed up down the line. But I want to narrow in on a few seconds before and the dinking pattern before, because I think there's area to improve here. So great return. Do good, decent job there. Not the best shot, but right here is where I think a lot of tennis players get in trouble, not just yourself. And it's this sort of movement where you have this left leg, definitely out behind, which is good, because then you can use your momentum to get back on the ball and hit the slice. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of tennis players exaggerate this movement a little bit too much. So as we look at this slice, the reason it pops up a little bit, so you're going to notice that ball, a great spot, but the response in the leg movement, look at where you're kind of stuck at now. It takes you a little bit to get back to the line, and 100%. You didn't get punished for it here because he doesn't choose to go speed up. But let's just assume he was to speed this ball up down the middle. You're not really going to be able to cover that, and your partner, his responsibilities become his line. So there is definitely just a thought about, okay, how can we shorten that motion a little bit? Or this leg right here, see how it's kind of just dangling like that? If you can just sidestep a little bit and get that leg flat on the ground, then the kind of momentum will carry you back naturally, and you'll have a wide base instead of where you end up where your feet are kind of stuck together. And that extra half second will save you a lot of the problem there.
Gotcha. So you think having just two kind of when you're going back for a ball like that, just having your feet kind of flat on the floor versus sliding?
I'd recommend almost like a full shuffle step to your left. Okay. Then you can kind of get low, and your entire time you're either on the balls of your feet or your feet are flat on the ground. But when your leg does dangle like that, it just takes an extra half a second away you can recover and get to the next ball.
I'd say I struggle with kind of the fourth shot a lot. When would you say, so I don't know whether I should be taking those balls out of the air or I should be taking a step back with my backhand, because when I do take a step back, if someone has a really good drop, I feel like I don't have much control with my backhand at all. So would you say that was the right move for me to take the ball out of the air, or should I kind of take a step back, and how does that kind of technique look like when I'm taking the ball off the bounce?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a few things that go into this. First of all, the typical rule I follow is as soon as you see your opponent going back for their backswing to hit their shot, whether it's a drive or a drop, that is when you need to be starting to stop your feet and hit a split step. So as you see here, he's about to hit this ball, you're still in this forward momentum position. And I think that's a big deal. A lot of players, they have this tendency to like, they have this belief that they have to get to the line once they return. And that's not necessarily true. You just got to stop your feet wherever you are once they hit their third shot. Because if you were to do that and you took if you took a split step like a second before, now rather than split stepping when this ball is like, basically a second from you, instead of reaching in like this, that would easily just be a bounce, and then you could reset that ball cross court. The other thing that I really like out of your opponents is this pressure component from the partner. So as you're going to see, he's in your peripheral vision, moving across the court, and in your mind, you're like, shoot, I need to put this ball in a really good spot. Yeah. So two things there, but one good by your opponent, but I think both issues are solved if you just split step a half second earlier and don't try to force getting to the line so quickly, because there's almost no reason to if you really think about it.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I was always under the assumption that you just have to sprint to the line after every turn, so that's definitely good to know.
Yeah. I think the general consensus I'm seeing right now from your errors is your forehand's completely amazing. Just keep ripping those. I mean, you haven't missed a drive yet, and if you're gonna miss, missing your forehand, because it's really really consistent. On the dinks and just in general, I would say I think you need to bend your knees a little bit more, just from a sense of when you're dinking, I feel like your dinks are pretty dead and you're leaving them a little bit high. And because of the level of your opponents, which, again, they're very strong, but as you keep getting higher and higher up the ranks, that is most of the time going to be a speed off the bounce for a high-level player or a flick if they can reach it. Just because all of that is stemming from basically the fact you're not bending your knees and getting low. You're just kind of scooping with your arm, which leads to that high dead dink.
Correct, yeah. So in terms of just like bending my knees with my dinks, do you think keeping the same type of like technique would be the move there, and just like getting lower? You think? Much that's it.
Yeah. No, technique is fine. I don't see any problem with that. It really is just getting behind the ball, then hitting and moving into it. Right, getting low, then coming back into the court is such a game changer. And as we talked about in the backhand, it just like not only is it a better shot, but also when you're moving back into the court with your shot, your momentum. Again, your opponent sees that in their peripheral vision, and it puts extra pressure on them as well.
100%. Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. We saw a missed flick at you there. I like that opportunity, though. Missing shots is by no means wrong in any way. I do want to talk about this, though, because I don't like this from your opponent's distinct. So you hit another good shot. That's a backhand slice. That's fine. This ball, I really, really don't like, and I tell everyone that I coach or I play with, never to really do this if you can. So you're going to see a down-the-line dink from your opponent, and he tries to switch directions. And what do I mean by that? Well, you hit the ball cross-court, right? And what he's going to try to do is go straight down the line. Few problems with this. First of all, you're hitting over the high part of the net, and you're trying to switch the directions of the ball. So you're taking a ball that's coming cross-court and putting it straight. That is an extra hardship that you wouldn't have to do if you were to go cross-court back.
Yeah.
Also, add in the fact that the net is higher, so that's another addition to how hard that shot is. Then you factor in the fact that your opponent might be able to earn. There's 3 additional things that just makes your life infinitely harder than going cross-court. And then your question is, okay, then how do I switch the ball in general? Like, can I ever switch it? And the answer is yes. Just don't do it all in one shot. What I would rather seen is, okay, instead, if he wants to go down the line, sure, go middle first. Then if he gets it again, then go one more toward your, the down the line opponent. Then finally go to the backhand, because now it's like a 3-series progression where it's just so much safer than doing the one and done and having this happen where a lot of the time it's a miss, especially anything under the 5-5 level.
Yeah, you're right, for sure. Real quick, our whole strategy, we realized that this kid on the right, we said hit every return to him.
Okay.
He would only drive his thirds, and he dropped there. He finally started dropping towards the end, but like we have good enough hands where we can kind of just counter that drive, because his drive isn't very powerful.
Yep. So
it kind of set ourselves up for a little more success, because this guy in the black shirt, he's really solid. Like, he kind of makes everything.
Yeah.
So we decided to return to him, and it worked a lot.
No, I mean, it has worked so far for sure. And this, I would say, just by watching the kid in the black short, the black outfit, he's definitely probably the most aggressive on the court, finding a lot of speed ups, and they're working pretty well. And I do think a large part of that is when he gets in this cross court battle with you, you do leave the dinks a little dead on your backhand, right? And that's why he's able to
Yeah,
find like a forehand speed up like that. So I
for sure.
think out of everything I've seen from your gameplay so far, that's probably the biggest weakness I would look to, to try
Yeah,
to improve. Try to get a little bit lower on the knees, and I think the knees will help that a lot. If you get
for
lower and
sure.
you
Yeah,
kind of like, shorten your range of motion a little bit, it'll put a lot of extra emphasis into like pushing the dink rather than leaving it dead.
yeah,
And you'll find that your opponents, unless they have a really good flick out of the air, are going to have a pretty tough time shooting that ball up with the bounce.
for
So
sure.
I think
Yeah,
that's like a
yeah,
really big next step that could, really take you easily point 0.3, point 0.4 of a duper in
okay,
terms of like a step
gotcha.
of a level
Yeah,
because the forehand's there.
uh-huh.
The errors are no more than anyone else.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that's probably
So
it.
quick thing, just about dinking in general, with
Yeah.
my, taller people, or just like people in general. When you're taking dinks out of the air, I was told to take every ball you can out of the air. How do you kind of decipher whether to take a ball out of the air or let it bounce? Because I feel like some balls that I do take out of the air, it's still dead. You know what I mean? Like just taking like a little slice backhand out of the air, like it's like I'd say higher percentage, but it's still like a dead dink. So how do you know how to decipher the two?
Yeah, I mean, obviously context matters as we watch this like insane point finish up there. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah,
But for sure, I obviously if you want to improve to the point where you're playing 5-5 plus 6-0 pickleball,
yeah,
the out of the air stuff becomes really really important. I will say, I play at that level, and my out of the
yeah,
air game is definitely subpar compared to a lot of players. But because of your height and your length, I think there's a
yeah,
few things to consider. The slice backhand, if you're gonna take the slice out of the air, that is a very difficult shot that not a lot of pros on tour are hitting. Like you'll see your Mari Humberg hit it, but
yeah,
very few pros are trying to push their slice drop cross court and become like this aggressive type of shot. If you're gonna do it, a lot of the pros what they do is they'll put that thing soft middle. So again, soft middle is
okay,
always safe because if your opponent wants to speed the ball up from your soft middle shot off the
yeah.
bounce, that's a death wish. Like that,
That is a
there's
really
no one
bad
in the
shot.
world doing that at the top of the game. So if you're gonna slice, or at least out of the air slice, like soft middle is always a really good shot. Then
Gotcha,
the rest of the stuff out of the air, as you get better, you'll develop your flick. That's something you can utilize as well. But
gotcha. Okay.
other than that, though, off the bounce, hitting top spin, cross court, push dinks, where it's really forcing your opponent to take a big step back, is probably the best thing you can do in terms of just generating unforced errors out of your opponents. I think is so important as well.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, one of the things that I like to emphasize a lot when we talk about just like how to get better is a lot
Yeah.
of the time getting better and getting better results is really just a byproduct of being consistent and finding ways to lower your opponent's percentages by like 1 to 2%. So if you push your
Okay.
dinks, that makes their life so much harder. They might just miss. You don't even have to do anything. You're just getting so much better by your opponent being worse because that little extra topspin, the little extra push you have in your dinks, and it really
Yeah.
does make like all the difference in the world.
For sure. Yeah. Gotcha.
And I think we see that, especially at the college game. Like, one of the reasons I'm so dominant in college is not because I'm like Ben Johns out there. It's just I make balls and I
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
people in
For sure.
situations
Yeah.
that are not necessarily easy or comfortable for them. Then they
Yeah.
just do the work
Okay.
for me. They miss for me. I don't even have to win the point. They just do it. So
Cool.
it's something to be considered as well. Especially until you get to like that 5-5 6 level play
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
everyone's really really consistent.
For sure. Yeah. Quick thing about the last point. So
Yep.
I know you actually made a video on forehand counters and Eric Hans's how he kind of slides forehand counters.
Yeah.
For me personally, my backhand counter like it sucks so much.
Yeah.
So I tend to favor my forehand counter. So do you think like whenever I think someone's gonna speed up a ball at me, should I be sitting more on my forehand for my counter, or should I be more neutral and kind of just guessing? Because I know there's also that backhand slide.
Yeah.
And I've tried drilling that for months. I just can't get it down, so I tend to favor my forehand more.
Yeah.
Just kind of wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's definitely the forehand slide is completely fine. On the right, I will say
Yeah.
you do have to be careful because right here, the way you slide middle to hit a forehand, again, it works out for you here, but you're sliding
Yeah.
into the middle. So what does this mean? Well, now your partner can't really cover middle because you're in his way. So if that ball
Yeah.
gets to your backhand and you open forehand, you're just gonna watch that ball go through the middle because your partner's like,
Yeah.
okay, well you're standing in my way, I can't really hit that ball. So
Gotcha.
if you do open forehand on the right side, you really have to be pretty sure that it's going there, or else you're kind of screwed. But I will say on the left side, like Eric Onsens does, if you were in your partner spot, opening middle is now on your forehands, much better because now you're sliding off the court, giving him the space to cover the middle, and you're really just covering, that big forehand that you can end the point on. If you slide middle here, like you do here, although you get it back, you're not really ending the point on your forehand. So, my advice would be yes, try to develop the backhand counter. You don't even have to slide. Just start with the counter, and when you're on the right side, that probably should be your go-to. But on the left, you really don't need that backhand slide counter. If you can open forehand like Eric does. All right, and as we end this pretty close match here, I want to focus on one final piece of advice that I think is really, really important and will help a lot of you guys. So in this point right here, let's just look at this. So we see the same concept except reversed this time. Your opponents, they hit a really good third shot, and your partner, he puts his head down. What does that mean? Well, let's just look at your opponents right here. They are hawking this. They're literally eyeing this ball up to go attack. Both of them moving forward. And as you're going to see, he ends up finding it. So the question becomes, okay, what is the response? How do I avoid this? Because you can't really do anything with this ball if you're your teammate. Like, what are you going to do? That ball's below the net. Yeah. Like, are we trying to speed it up? No. In his mind, he's thinking, I want to keep this opponent back. But now I can't see my opponent. He just ran forward and just destroyed that ball. So, like, what is the smart play here? Well, there's two things you can consider. You always have soft middle. If you're not sure where your opponents are and you have you don't have your mind made up, soft middle, always the safe. Great, fine. Or we can do, why don't we just dink this ball cross court, give up the net? Sometimes if your opponent hits a good drop, it's not worth it to risk the entire point trying to keep them back. Just concede the net, go into that 50-50 point, and push this ball cross court. Because if your teammate here pushes a hard cross court dink, you're going to be in a very advantageous position. You especially, right? Now you can go look to Ernie, and it's going to be a lot of pressure on this player in the black shirt, which would really be much, much better than what the result is here than a point loss on a beautiful Ernie finish there. So did you guys end up winning this match or no?
We lost 15-13.
Oh,
so
barn burner.
I think after that point, that insane get that he got, we lost like 3 in a row. I think I missed a serve, or I think my partner missed a serve.
Okay.
A return. So it was like 13-12, and we made 2 unforced errors, which lost us the match.
Gotcha.
But overall, this match proved to us that, there's not a lot of discrepancies between, us and then like a mid-5 team. You know what I mean? It's just kind of those smaller things, those smaller unforced errors, like those little things that you were talking about, the 1 or 2% really does make a huge difference in the outcomes, especially when like these are such like close scores.
Yeah, 100%. It really is the small things, and I hope this give you a little bit of insight on what you can go back and try to improve upon. Obviously, I'm not a top player in the world. I don't have like any riveting advice that that isn't super super obvious. But again, part of the problem in trying to get better is knowing what we did wrong, and you can take some of the stuff I said and go back and work on it, and then see where it goes, right? Because consistency will help you get better and improve, but. Yeah, what did you think overall? Decent tips or anything else?
This was extremely helpful. Just kind of seeing your analysis on this really helped a lot. Like a lot of things that I thought I was doing well, they're not, just because like coming from tennis, there's a lot of bad habits that you kind of get with the whole sliding thing and all that. So just kind of seeing all that from like someone who's as knowledgeable as you really helped me a lot. And definitely a lot of tips I'm going to apply to my game. The biggest one I think that I took away from your advice was just getting low, just bending your knees, because when you're kind of standing up straight, you're also not in the best position. You're not hitting the best things. You can get sped up at a lot easier because you're not in balance.
Yep.
So that's definitely one of the biggest things I took away. But, this was extremely, extremely helpful. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of my progress with you for sure.
100%. I can't wait. This has been VOD with viewers. I'm looking forward to, continue doing this. And obviously I started this page to help people get better at pickleball, and this is really just an extension of that. So as this match wraps up, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you guys next time.